Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jared Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Hello from the future.
Ashley Hicks is here.
Good morning.
And then we have Kyle Schrum. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I'm not even going to try to match that.
I just want to start by saying I love the hoodie. It's a great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't worry.
Not wearing it.
We're going to add it to our winter line at Garage Gym Athlete. So
Winter line.
You can just go to garagegymathlete.com, check out the store. I don't know. When's the first official day of winter? Does anybody know that?
No idea.
No.
I don't need to worry about winter.
We will
official
Google
model
that. Well, we will Google when the first day of winter is, and that's most likely when we'll do the hoodie. Or we could just completely forget about all this and you might never see it in the store. It's 50-50.
I got it.
That's
Good
more
chance.
likely.
Yeah. We have more like 80% chance you'll never see it. But anyway.
Monday, December 21st.
There it is. Wow, that's
There
late.
you go.
You're definitely going to forget that, especially
yeah.
around Christmas.
And I need a hoodie way before December 21st.
Yeah.
I've seen a Christmas colored hoodie now, actually. Gonna order that.
Well, since you're talking, what's your updates, man? How's life?
I think fine. Put me on the spot real quick. Hotel life is winding down. By the time this publishes, I'll be moving in within a week. Actually, I think even from now, a week from today, recording this, we'll be moving into our house. So that'll be nice because it's getting a little old cooking in this hotel with a pot and a pan and a knife that doesn't cook or cut. Yeah, knife doesn't cook either, by the way. The next actual update that people might care about is if you're on the strength track, I have now started programming for the strength track in US. So I'm on that. But I'm writing the programming for that for this next wave, this next month. So as I told Liz, this time for this month coming up, she doesn't have to yell Jared's name. She can yell my name when she's angry at the program.
Is she
Yeah.
doing strength trap?
Yeah. We usually do the same. But I mean, well, both of us were in the same thing. We couldn't lift heavy all year. She was on her ship, but all she had was dumbbells. So she couldn't actually use a barbell. I was away from barbells and weights. So we're both basically in the same phase of we just need to lift heavy again.
Gotcha.
And I've seen the programming. I think the only thing that'll piss anybody off is he likes IWTs, which is interval weight training. It's also like worst conditioning on the planet. You could also call IWT.
It's fun.
Yeah, no, they are fun, but they can
It's only
be
two.
depending on how you program them. IWTs can really suck. They're like the worst ones for me are the ones with front squats. Throwing like
And that's what's on there.
9 reps of front squats with some sort of a sprint afterwards is like, it's the worst. So
I did create my own thing to which when VD looked at the program, he said, that's good. I'm going to steal that. So Shred might be seeing something else I created.
Uh-oh.
there you
good
go.
one.
Which would have bumped me down to programming 1 track, hard to kill, but I'm actually programming 2 tracks, hard to kill and BCT. But BCT is super easy. That's
Sounds
why
like-
there's,
Copy,
that's why there's
That's a
a
pass.
increased reps.
there's a B in there for boring. But no, that's good. Cool, man. Anything else going on? I'm glad that you're getting into a new space. I'm excited for you. It's only been like
Yeah.
a year.
to have a friggin' office. And I mean, we're not gonna have a full gym, but at least I'll have my bike and rower.
One time I went TDY for like close to 4 months and I had to stay in a hotel that entire time. And nutritionally, that was the worst time period of my life. Just nutritionally. Because it was dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've done okay.
Ashley, how's life?
Good. We had like a early Halloween trunk or treat at Connor's school last night. So he did his first trick or treating event, and it was adorable. He dressed up in. We have a little flight suit for him, and Scott's call sign is Bolt. So his little tag is Little Bolt.
Nice.
So he was
Spark.
adorable. Yeah.
I was gonna say.
Oh, that's fun. Anyway, so he loved the fact that he could go up to people, and since it was trunk or treat, I didn't know if you should say trick or
Put your
treat.
kids in the
So
trunk. Oh.
no, like they pass out candy out the back of their trunks. That anyways.
Nothing. Okay.
No, not
Trunk or treat's very common around here, and it has been for a long time. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you don't have kids, though, then I can understand
No,
you not
don't
knowing
listen
what
to
that
me.
is.
It's way too dangerous to walk around neighborhoods these days, Joe. Come on.
I've been told I shouldn't pass out candy for any reason. So
That's
I
probably
probably-
accurate.
Was that
Probably
from
true.
like the authorities or?
I think it's just general life advice.
All right.
Anyways, he thought it was cool that he could walk up and go, please, and they would give him a piece of candy. And so he thought it was great. So we let him have one piece of candy, and Scott took the entire bag to work today. So he doesn't eat the rest because it's insane at how much candy they give kids these days. Like just handfuls and throw it in the bag. And whew. Anyways, that's a lot of sugar. So we didn't do that. And then just kind of like a more personal update for me. I'm just ready to get everything done, ready to get testing done, ready to figure out my life with this thyroid thing. Part of the thing is I'm probably about 15 pounds heavier than what I normally am. And it's just wearing on me. And it's like, it's mental too, on top of like my physical training. And it just stinks because it's like, I'm doing all the things correctly. You know, I've done elimination diets. I'm eating really clean just to prevent anything. And there's nothing that's moving like on the scale or via like my clothes. And that can be very, I don't know, that can just be very hard mentally, like to be like, this is what you should be doing, even though you're not going to see results until something else gets fixed, you know, the more important part. But, anyways, we talk about all the time that it should be like a lifestyle, and it should be about your health overall. So I'm not going to eat crap just because I'm not seeing any changes. But at the same time, it's it's kind of it's finally taken its toll on me. So anyways, a little more
rough
transparency.
when you're doing everything that you're supposed to do. Like I know I ran into some skin issues earlier. I've just always had problems with skin throughout my life, but I ran into some skin issues over the summer. And then I talked to a functional medicine doctor, and then also like just some stuff online, and the little checklist for what you should be doing. I was like, okay, so my everyday life. Got it. So what do you add to that? And that's when it becomes really frustrating, is like, what else can you do? And so I understand how that can just be very annoying.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's mine.
Kyle.
So the only update I have is actually something that hasn't happened yet. Hannah and I have signed up for a 5K together, which is
That's
really
awesome.
cool. Something we wanted to do for a long time, but now that
Better
we're both,
PR it.
yeah, I know, right? And I know the last 5K I ran was
It's a long time ago.
3 years ago. So,
Yeah.
so we'll see. But it's a Halloween 5K. So we're basically required to wear costumes.
What are you
So-
dressed up as?
I'm not going to reveal that at this time.
Oh, okay. All
I'm going to
right.
keep everybody
That's rude.
in
We're going to assume that
suspense.
you're undecided, but you will let us know the next
You
podcast.
should dress up as Chewbacca. That would be hilarious.
I would
Really
be
hard to
willing
run
to
in.
take suggestions from you.
I
or
would
the
dress as an
community.
Olympian if I was doing a 5K.
An Olympian.
No.
Yeah, like
don't
an
do that.
Olympic athlete. I'd wear like a tracksuit.
Just have a gold medal already on you.
Yeah.
I was
And
thinking
then-
of like the first Greek Olympian, and you're just wearing a loincloth. And like,
Well, I'm trying to
Oh,
think of something that would actually help me run. I don't want to be in a Chewbacca suit or be a
True.
stormtrooper
Yeah.
for a 5K, So I would try and be the most athletic costume I possibly could be.
One could say that was more mental toughness and harder because
It would be way worse, but are we trying to win?
think
Are we
it's
trying
just
to
dangerous.
practice mental toughness?
Yeah,
You know.
step on your own hair. Can't see out of the mask.
You imagine trying to breathe through a Chewbacca mask?
Ooh.
Any kind of mask.
I don't know. We're conditioned
So
to it now, I guess. With COVID.
whatever you have going on with your suit, make sure there's no face wear.
I got you.
We'll come up with something good, Kyle.
I mean, if you wear a Chewbacca mask, just make sure to have your actual mask over your Chewbacca face.
You know, scrubs. Scrubs might be fine to run in.
Yeah.
You could be a doctor or.
I mean, my sister wears scrubs as like pajamas because that's where your work uniform. She just comes home, it's like, cool, I'm comfortable.
Like, I don't think I'd want to squat in scrubs, but I feel like I could run in scrubs just fine. I don't have a lot of experience with scrubs. I just feel like you'd rip the pants if you squatted in scrubs. I
think they'd fall
I
down.
definitely would. After all this squatting we've been doing on BCT, I don't even know if I could put scrubs on right now.
What about Daisy Dukes?
Your body hasn't recovered yet.
Take that how you will. Anyway, I have picked out my costume already, but if people want to send in suggestions, but pictures will be posted post race.
All right. We'll wait. It's fine.
Yep.
So is it
All right,
me?
Jared.
That's it.
Okay.
Your big update. Let's do this.
Yeah.
thing.
I thought I had no updates, but
Jared's
then
got a
as
big
you
one.
guys were talking, I got more and more updates.
You're like, wait a minute, I haven't talked to you guys all week because we're not allowed to.
Yeah. So my first update is on BCT. We are in deload week currently as of recording this. And on the BCT track, for anybody who doesn't know what that is boring concurrent training. We're doing a lot of squatting and running because a lot of people, there's about 18 of us trying to increase our back squats and decrease our mile times. Anyway, I was supposed to test them both in the same day, but I just felt like squatting heavy yesterday. And so I went from 410 to 435 in about 3 weeks. So
Nice.
big jump there. This is going to be hard. Like some people look at that and they're like, oh, nice, 435. Like I tell my dad stuff like that and he's like, cool, you're not that far off. I'm like, I'm really far off.
Yeah.
65 pounds is a lot and it's maintaining it. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm testing the mile on Sunday, most likely, because that's the best track day for me. I just don't know when yet. So I'll let you guys know if I got any faster in the mile. So those are BCT updates. And I got a new shake. I finally started a new shake because the other one got old. Well, I don't know. I still kind of like it, but I figured I should change it up.
It's the other one I tasted too good, and this one just has a lot of, stuff to make you feel good.
Dude, I don't
Can't
even
imagine
know.
this one tasting good.
No, he said it doesn't.
No, it tastes fine. It doesn't taste as good. You're right. Okay, I had to look at my phone, a picture of it to know what's in it. So there's celery, spinach, cauliflower, blackberries, oranges, flaxseed, and 1 scoop of protein.
I think you just gagged as you were reading that. I'm not. No, maybe I
You
just
need
saw
to
that,
try
but-
it. It's pretty good. However, this is like I've made it, let's say 10 times now. At the beginning was rough. If you get your percentages wrong on any one of those ingredients, it is a bad shake. You have to get the right percentage. You go too much cauliflower and too much celery, it's interesting. You decrease those a little bit, go a little bit higher on the other ones, you'll be fine. So
Just throw in a banana for good measure.
Well,
just in case.
I think I'm going to start changing my shake up once per quarter. I'm going to drink the same shake every day for 12 weeks and then change it up. I just feel like your body needs a little bit more variety. Shouldn't have the same thing
mean,
all the time.
This is huge for you. Like Mr. Yeah, fuel is fuel. It doesn't really matter what I like.
Well, I like
Changing a shake once per quarter is huge.
It is huge for Jared.
It was like one shake for 5 years, and now I'm at once per quarter. That's a big change. I think that you know what, maybe that is all my updates. I don't know if I want to share the rest.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm kidding.
This is no longer a safe space.
No, I've shared this before, but it's just funny because both my boys are in sports. Eleanor's not doing that yet, but we've talked about it, but the post workout meals that are given are just they are so funny. Like what did my son
The
get
little
handed?
Debbie's and Capri Suns.
Well, it's not even just that, man. It's the amount. Like I was going to count up the calories for this update, but I forgot to do it so we could ballpark it. But it was has 2 different Ziploc bags full of food and a Gatorade. So we had a Gatorade. This is my 6-year-old who's playing soccer. So he got a Gatorade, and then he got a package of gummy bears, Goldfish, one of those kids Z bars, and then some other form of carbohydrate, like a chip bag or something like that. And I was just like, each thing's roughly 120 to 200 calories. So we're looking at anywhere from 600 to 1,000 calories for a post 6-year-old soccer game. And I bring this up as kind of a public service announcement because most people out there would know, but hey, you might be listening to this and you don't. Your child doesn't need probably any of that. You know what your child needs after a soccer game? A couple sips of water. Like, that's it. That's all they need. Some orange slices would be great. That's what happened back in the day. But now that's like unsanitary, especially with COVID and everything else. So anyway, that's it.
Holy glycemic index. That's all I have to say with that one. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then the other thing is my whole family got coronavirus. So I probably should have led with that one, huh?
What? When did this happen?
Not my family, not Emily.
Not his household.
Not my kids.
Oh.
But my great uncle died recently. And I know it's sad, but he was 96, died in his sleep, peacefully. And he had some health issues or whatever. And so while that is sad, it is something I aspire to. Dying in my sleep at 96 would be awesome. So a great dude. Everyone went to the funeral. I could not go because Emily's out of town. I have the boys. It just wasn't logistically possible. But someone at the funeral had coronavirus. Oh. And I don't know what the protocols were there, but I'm guessing there weren't a lot of protocols in place. Anyway, my aunt got it. My brother got it. My parents, my grandpa, just everybody popped hot for coronavirus. And so far, every single one of them have had it and recovered. So positive note. My grandpa got it the worst. He actually did have to go to the hospital. I mean, he's like every check mark for being worried about someone with coronavirus, with age, previous heart conditions, and all this stuff. He was in the hospital. He's still in the hospital, but everything's moving in the right direction. He's been taking off oxygen. He didn't have to get a vent. Everyone seems to be recovering, but there we go. I'm taking it as a win for the Moon genes and a pandemic. So while I have not had it yet, and it could affect me differently, these people are the closest to my genetic makeup. So, I'm ready for it if it happens, which it'll happen. Come on, we're all going to get it eventually. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
I think your first update could remedy the next 2. So you just make a shake and then pour some of your shake into the little baggies for the kids, and they can suck on the little baggies and have some of your shake, and then make the shake and then take it to your family who had COVID, and they'll probably bounce right back.
That's science.
Yeah.
Joe.
So anyway, there is a study that came out recently. I shared it with the team on coronavirus and exercise. So we might cover that here on the podcast so we can talk about it from a science standpoint. Maybe
was I
next
asleep?
week. You probably missed it being 15 hours ahead or whatever you are. So
yeah. We even have a title and everything. So
yeah, she named it already. So we're good.
Yeah, we covered that one already. So
we should probably get into the study by now. This one's interesting. I don't know what you guys, the overall take you guys had on it. What I had a hard time doing with this one was making sure I had a very concrete takeaway for everyone listening, because the study was very thorough, is very robust, very interesting. But I want to make sure that there's a really strong takeaway for the Garage Gym athlete who's listening to this podcast. So the name of the study is Muscle Fiber Typology is associated with the incidence of overreaching in response to overload training. Now, this is very in-depth. I don't even know if I should really get into the super specifics of what they did. Let me just talk about, who was tested and stuff. But the first thing I want to caveat, go back and listen to podcast number 57. where we specifically cover muscle fiber types. And it was different than what we're covering today, but I went into a little bit more about type 1 being slow twitch and type 2 fast twitch muscle fibers. So type 1 is more, you got to think your marathon runner. Type 2 is more your weightlifter, explosive sprinter type thing. But you can go back. I went in way more detail on that one. So in this study, there were 25 highly trained 800 meter and 1500 meters runners who completed the study, including 16 males and 8 females. So I love that they were all trained, really highly trained. I love that there's a male-female breakdown, which is awesome. And the podcast number 57, where we covered muscle fiber types, those people were untrained. And so I didn't like that study as much, but this one's pretty good. And all they did was they had a 3-week training period of training volume that was about what they were accustomed to. And then they increased that the next 3 weeks. And then they had a deload week, that 7th week, where they dropped it down significantly for their taper week. And what they were looking for, I'm trying to like not get into the super nitty gritty of it, because they tested everything, right? I mean, they looked at like everything. They measured almost everything that you can with an endurance athlete. And what they're really looking at was muscle fiber type, because that's what they were trying to do in the study. So I'm not going to, if you guys want to hit on it, you can, but everything else they assessed was cool, but not something I'm going to talk about. They used, what was it called? Forgot the actual name of what it was to look at it was a sonogram or something where they look at the muscle and then they have a way of determining whether or not you have more type 1 or type 2 muscle fibers. And the big conclusion, before I get to the takeaway, I'll get a takeaway after you guys, chime in. But if you have type 2 muscle fibers, if you're more prone or you have more of those, which is that fast twitch, fast explosive stuff, you could be more prone to getting injured if you increase your load significantly like they did. So that's the short of it in a long form way. So what do you guys have on this study?
It was definitely a lot to unpack. At first, I wasn't really even sure what was going on, but then once I figured out how they were doing their testing, how they did their when they did their max effort tests, it was kind of cool to see and think about how we applied it to our training and such. But the really, really high intensity individuals were just giving it everything they got versus the nons. And it just makes you think of knowing when to throttle back, not necessarily try less, but it's almost like this study showed that if you go too hard, too fast, too much, then you can have burnout. And for some people, it might do that even more to others. It just depends on how, I guess you kind of know yourself. Not really anybody's going to know what kind of muscle fiber type they have, which is kind of a hard thing. But this might be some sort of indication as to, okay, if you're finding that you don't recover very well, that you do find yourself burned out or something, then maybe you have this type 2 muscle fiber and you need to back it off a little bit, because that type of muscle fiber you're not going to recover as very well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would also say for this, they did like a journal with questions to ask them, like, hey, how are you feeling during all this? And it looked like week 2 and week 3 were the worst weeks for everybody. So I wonder if, week 1, it was just kind of the testing and the kind of like high of the programming. And then week 2 and 3, kind of getting in the nitty gritty. So maybe their body was adapting, is my only kind of question about that. But specifically, the people that were doing the 4 group, which was just the overtraining group or the higher loads, or however you want to take that away, they had a higher sleep reduction than the other group that was not doing this. And they also reported there was more people that had like a sinus infection, like a upper respiratory tract infection. And so it made their sleep go down, which in turn potentially caused those people to get sick. So in my personal opinion, I feel like there's probably not a lot of muscle fiber 1 type people in our community in our setting of garage gym athletes. There may be some marathon runners out there that are, like that. But I just feel like overtraining is probably not worth it, in my personal opinion, is what I took away from the study, because it looks like your sleep could go down and your health could potentially, go down.
So the protocol they were using is actually pretty common. It's called overload training. And mostly what overload training is used for is like bodybuilders. Like bodybuilders will use it a lot, trying to build as much muscle as possible. And so you overtrain yourself on purpose for a short amount of time, and then you recover from that, and you reap all the benefits of all that rapid muscle building. And so what they were trying to do was figure out, which muscle type in runners, whether it was type 1 or type 2, which one responds and becomes functionally overreached, which is what they were looking for. And what they found was like the people with more type 2 muscle fibers were the ones in the functional overreach group. So it was like half and half, right? Wasn't it like 12 in the overreach and 12 in the non-overreach?
Correct.
Yeah. So half of them were more type 2 and half of them were more type 1. And so what I took away from this was that, especially for garage gym athletes, not just people in our community, but anybody else that's listening to the podcast, if you're training on your own, the protocol they were using is overload training. And you may hear or read about overload training as well, and may try to implement it in your training. What I would say is do not try overload training without a coach. That's what I would say. Don't do it, because you're intentionally overtraining yourself. And these people were in a lab, with people monitoring them, and they were, like Jared said, they were tracking a lot of different things. They were monitoring a lot of different things. And so, so this kind of overtraining on purpose was a lot safer for them. But overtraining on purpose, it was also for a short period of time. And so it's not something you want to do for a long period of time. So I would say, if you're going to look at overload training, you need to have a coach that's working with you through it, because it's not something you need to do on your own. I would also say it's something like Ashley said, and I think Joe said something too. I have no clue if my calf muscles are more fiber or more type 1 or type 2, I have no idea. So for me personally, this study, it's like, okay, that's great that type 1 responds better to it and type 2 is more prone to overreach, but I have no clue which one I am. So it's like, I don't really know how to use it. But I guess just looking at how you respond to different training protocols and just monitoring it that way. Because like I said, they had a way to determine which muscle type these people had. And I think most people in our community aren't going to be able to do that. So my takeaway would just be, don't do overload training without a coach. And one way for you to monitor this yourself is to just monitor how you respond to higher loads. Like in our training, we have higher load periods and lower load periods. So just monitor how you're responding to those different periods.
I know when I was in college, I worked out quite a bit in college, but then I'm talking about in the semester. And then during the summer, I would come home, and that's when I'd almost double my training in the summer, just because I had more time to exercise and everything else. And what would happen every summer is I would get sick. It would be like 4 or 6 weeks into this new robust program. I mean, I started to piece it together after the second year. I'd be like, okay, maybe it's the training, because I'm not just randomly catching a cold in the middle of summer, So anyway, it is something, it's very possible to beat your body up and tear it down beyond a state in which it can recover from. But my takeaway was kind of like Kyle was saying, you're not going to know if you're more type 1 or type 2, but I would just ask you what, there are, if I were to hang out with you for an hour and watch you train, I could probably tell you if you're more type 1 or type 2. Without going to because when you're on the extremes, it's easy. When I mentioned a marathon runner, or I mentioned a Olympic weightlifter or a sprinter, like a 100 meter, 200 meter sprinter, it's very easy. But for garage gym athletes, it is more challenging because we do really well-rounded training, and you might not know. But I would just like for everyone to ask themselves, what are you more inclined to? Are the other plate jumps that we program, the new plate jumps, are those easy for you? Are you able, with very little training, are you able to do a plate jump and or hit multiple inches on the plate jump? Okay, we're heavily leaning towards type 2 already. Are you naturally fast? Are you a sprinter? These kind of things. Do you gravitate more towards strength training, and can you be explosive during that strength training? Not just from an enjoyment standpoint. Are you pretty explosive? So if you're answering yes to some of those questions, you probably are type 2 or leaning more that direction. And that would mean you can get overtrained more easily than someone who's not with these kind of increases. Now, the good thing, if you're following our programming, we have a stop, right? We have a hard stop after every third week of training. We have that deload. So you don't have to worry about this as much. But when I was programming BCT, it went from I was programming for myself versus I opened it up to where people could join. And when I was doing it for myself, my plan was to train 5 weeks and then the 6th week deload, just because I wanted to use a little bit of this overload principle and hit a little bit harder for a longer period of time and take it almost to that threshold before I had an extreme deload. Once other people joined me on the track, I went back to just what we always do because I don't want to be responsible for anyone else getting injured. So to Kyle's point, you have to be very mindful about how you use that kind of programming technique if you're not doing it. Like I program for a lot of people and I've been programming for a long time. So, I can make those adjustments. And I was also willing to take a little bit more risk when it was just me. But when there's other people involved, this 3 weeks on hard and then 1 week back is just, will keep you in the game for a lot longer. So if you do, you have like, if you've been sitting on your butt for a long time and you feel like but you still are more prone to type 2 and you want to get back at it, just be very mindful about how you do that so you don't overtrain and end up getting sick or injured. That's about the only takeaway I could really get, is just try and know what type you are, take an educated guess, and then keep that in account really for the rest of your life with how you take on training load over time. All right.
Yeah, that was cool.
It's a study. Joe, it's a topic this week, man.
So on our sign up page and FAQ page and other things like that, we have a list of equipment that is required for programming for most of our tracks. And it's pretty short. We try and keep it as simple as possible. That's the whole point for garage gym athletes. And on that list is a barbell, rack, weights, and a kettlebell, because you technically don't need any cardio equipment as long as you can run. But the topic that I wanted to bring up today for everyone is, what is our best piece of equipment, best purchase outside of the required equipment list? We get this sometimes because people are interested in like one or two other things, and they ask our Facebook group, what would you guys suggest for using in the program, integrating or whatnot, and always get different answers. So I want to see what everybody else has to say. Best other piece of equipment outside the requirements.
Basically the don't needs, the nice to haves.
Yes, the don't needs, the nice to haves.
Yeah. When being a garage gym athlete becomes your hobby and that's where you'd like to spend all your money, what do you, I think it's funny, man, just following more of not necessarily our people, but some just, there's a whole big garage gym athlete community out there, like on Instagram and everything else. And you see these garage gyms, right? And if you got the money, that's awesome. I don't care like what people spend their money on. I just think it's funny that some people have like
leg press.
Yeah, like these crazy machines, and then they've put that shiplap throughout their whole garage. They have like shiplap wood walls like on their garage, and then they like all this craziness. I'm like, dude, you spent like $15,000 just on like making it look cool. Yeah. We haven't even gotten into the equipment yet. But anyway, I'm not to that level, but I do have some ridiculously expensive equipment that you don't have to have. So I'm all about talking about it. I can't say reverse hyper. Okay. how about you guys go first? What do you think? What are some nice to haves that aren't necessarily required to do the programming?
What you got?
I would say, so the first one that I came up with a few, but the first one I came up with was a sandbag. I like the functionality of it. How it's much easier to transport than a barbell. Like if you're going somewhere and you want to train, or you want to train outside in the yard instead of in the garage or something like that, it's much easier to transport. A lot of functionality to it. There's a lot of different things that can be done with it. Versatility, I guess that's what I'm talking about. Versatility more than functionality.
Like the new hotness in the group too. And Marco and VD are all about sandbags right now in their programming.
Yeah. So I think it's something really cool, and it's definitely not required, but you can do a lot of the same things you do with a barbell with a sandbag. Maybe not load up as much weight on it, but you can do a lot of the same things with it.
Ashley?
I put a rower or a bike. I enjoy my rower when I can't run, which is not quite often here in Florida. More in England, it was that way because of rain all day, or the temperatures and rain on top of it. I didn't want to, get hypothermia. But, like a rower, or now next, I would love like a Concept 2 bike. I've never really biked in the programming that we've done. And so it's just something to change it up, I guess, just to keep things interesting. And then the other things that I have extra is I really like wall balls as well. Like we've been doing ground to shoulder a lot lately from the last couple of weeks in our programming, but as well as stuff like wall shots or whatnot. So we have a couple of wall balls that we like to play around with as well.
If Ashley ever programs a track, you're doing wall balls every week.
Or thrusters or some sort of squats.
Lots of squats. Just call the track lots of squats.
I definitely
program BCT.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
I definitely loved when we got our bike, our spin bike at the house. I didn't think I would use it as much as I did, but definitely do, especially for it's easy to throw in zone 2 stuff. But I think if I were to had to choose one piece of cardio equipment to only own one, I think it would be an Airdyne, because the short intensity that you can do with that is just hard to replace on any other machine, and even running, it's terrible. I'd always rather run outside anyway. So if there's anything that's like longer intervals or anything like that, I'd rather run. And the Airdyne is just so sucky. And it can be used great for a warm up, great for a lot of things. You can do just your arms, you can do just your legs, whatever. I think that would be fantastic. And then my cheap one that I always like to bring up that I love are rings. Somebody just posted that in the community group, like, hey, what's your best purchase under $30 for your gym? Rings, 100%. Get rings. They're cheap. They're easy. They can do a lot with them. And ring dips are like one of the best exercises that you could do for a lot of things. Not one of the best, but it's really good.
Wait, so your rings were under $30?
I think you can get gymnastics rings for like $25-$30, or it's between $25 and $35. Yes, I got
not from Rogue. It's like on
rings.
Amazon.
Yeah, not from Rogue.
Yeah, I'm not getting Rogue. No, I don't buy Rogue anything. Okay.
I got a deal on mine last year on Amazon, and they were like $15 or something like that.
Yeah, so, I have nice wooden rings on a strap. Mm-hmm. They're perfectly fine.
All right. Well, I'll look on Amazon. I've been looking at the Rogue ones, and they're like $75.
No, don't.
I mean, Ashley.
I think I'd only go to Rogue for like a barbell.
I buy almost everything on Rogue.
Yeah, I try to buy everything from Rogue just because I don't want to die.
You don't want to break it.
Yeah.
Take my chances with rings.
Dude, rings are one of the serious ones. Think about it.
Muscle ups?
A muscle up, yeah, super dangerous if that thing breaks. So is it my turn and I can't say reverse hyper?
You can say reverse hyper.
No. Wait, no, I got another one. Reverse hyper. All right, Jared, what do you got?
Well, it's funny so everyone listening, you won't get to hear this episode for a while because we got ahead of it. But I interviewed Kyle Johnson this past week, and it'll be published later. But he turned to the end of the interview around on me, and he was like, it was similar to this. He was like, you got a bunch of crap you don't need. Like, if you had to only pick one, which one would it be? Like to have. And I ended up saying the sauna. So I would say but that's not even like a piece of equipment, right? It's just like
that's like recovery.
It's recovery equipment.
Yeah, but it's helpful.
Recovery is just as important as
it is.
Workouts.
Yeah, I mean, if I can't. So the reason I would say reverse hyper is because I know that lower back issues are prevalent and a lot of people have them. And I think I seriously use the reverse hyper like every single day. And I think it helps a lot. I think I probably would have lower back issues if I didn't use the reverse hyper every single day. And so I think that one's really good just because it's so much more affordable now too with that Scout hyper that just came out from Rogue. I think that one's like, isn't it like $350?
Yeah, I think it's on.
I just spent like $1,000 to get my reverse hyper. So if I could have got one for $350 and you guys are thinking about it, then do it. Like definitely get that Scout hyper. That's a steal to be able to do that exercise, and save the footprint. Takes up like a quarter of my garage having a reverse hyper.
I do wish I had one of those.
Reverse hyper?
Yeah, especially
you just can't really do it anywhere else. I've done the fake kind of reverse hyper. I did that for a long time. And what I mean by fake kind is just like setting it up on a plyometric box or like whatever, just trying to do that reverse hyper extension movement. And then it's just not the same at all compared to, I mean, you're moving the back. So I think there's still benefit to it. So don't get me wrong. If you're doing it that way, I did that way for a long time, but it's better. Like the momentum helps stretch you a little bit more and stuff. So it's just different. But the sauna would be my pick because it's awesome. And I can't, everything else I can do somewhere else. Like, so I have the True Form. Yeah, I could run outside. I don't necessarily have to have that reverse hyper. I did it other ways for a long time. Not as great, but I could keep doing that. I can't simulate 200 degrees and the health benefits for that anywhere else. I can't. Even my hot garage that gets to 120 isn't 200. It's still 80 degrees off. So anyway, I would choose the sauna.
Nice.
I mean, there's a lot of other stuff. Crossover symmetry. I think people should have that.
I thought about, just for funsies, a sled. I think.
Dude, I would use a sled all the time. I guess at my new house, I could probably use one.
Oh, for sure. But you have a slope, so pushing it back up would not be fun.
Well, that's the good part of it.
House.
Didn't you have one in Texas?
Yeah, and I used
Shepherd.
I used to use it because that at Shepherd. So we lived on base, but like there was the fenced in area, but then there was a huge field behind my house that was just several hundred yards. So I could use it whenever I wanted to and not bother anybody or whatever. I don't like using them on concrete. I'm a garage gym athlete who tries to be nice to neighbors. I don't want to be the annoying neighbor who's like doing something that you hate all the time. And so, cause I have the Rogue yoke, right? That has the metal skids on the bottom that I could push on the concrete, but it's so loud and annoying. I'm just like, I'm sorry, neighbors. I don't want to do this to you.
So I would actually want to try and get the one on wheels. I wonder how that is. Like how the
what they do with that. I've seen that they clamp the wheels or something like that.
It must have like some sort of brake on it, almost like an e-brake. But so to replicate the friction. But yeah, I think that's how I would have to work. That's what I would want because of the same thing. I wouldn't want scraping and stuff like that.
There's one of those wheeled ones that's got some kind of resistance mechanism on the wheels when you push it, and you can set it where it like holds it back a little bit. And also you're stacking plates on top of it, so that adds resistance too. But like it's got some kind of resistance mechanism on it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I have to check it out. I might have to check. I do love sleds. In the military, we use sleds all the time, and I know it's kind of like. You can't get that stimulus anywhere else.
Nope.
It's people could argue that you can, but it's like, have you really done them all? Because when you push a sled pushed at max intensity is the only thing that could like actually make me throw up unexpectedly.
Oh yeah.
And I'm talking about compared to an Airdyne. I got an Airdyne go as hard as I could for 30 seconds and I'm not going to throw up. You give me a sled to push as hard as I can for 30 seconds. There's a 60% chance I'm going to throw up. So
The way your legs feel after too, just like the digging in you have to do while you're. Oh man, now I want to push a sled.
I want a sled
It's
now.
fun.
I've wanted a sled for a long time. It's been on my list for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that wheeled one.
The wheeled sled. How much does that thing cost?
I don't know. It's probably, I don't know.
Probably about
Talking
as much
about
as
it
as a
on the
regular sled.
podcast. It'll just pop up on someone's doorstep after this.
Someone's going to have it.
Hopefully mine.
I have no need for it until BCT is over, so I'll be waiting to purchase that. But yeah, all I need is a place to run and a place to squat right now. All right.
I would
XPO
make
trainer.
room.
There's one with wheels. It's got 3
Yeah.
wheels, and it's $700. Oh,
Just
and
fine.
here's on Rogue site XPO Trainer 2. $700.
He's got that look. He's got that look in his eyes.
Yeah, so the back wheel has this like motor thing you can see, and I'm pretty sure that's what it is that locks it up.
Yep.
However, I think I would want the 4-wheeled one because then you can have the post in the front and the back.
Yeah, you wouldn't
Well-
have to turn it around to push it back.
I think that if that's a little above my threshold for what it does. I think knocking like $150 to $200 off that, and I'd be more like, oh, well, I'll consider it. But I don't know how much I would use the sled. Like the True Form's crazy expensive. I use it every day. You know what I mean? Like the same with the sauna. But with I don't know how often I'm going to use a sled to drop $1,000. Well, once you include shipping, it's $1,000. So I don't know how much I would use it.
That's not the question, Jared.
I thought I already answered the question. I thought we moved on to just a tangent.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm bringing
I-
it back so I can try to justify it.
Yeah. Yeah. So sauna or reverse hyper, my official answer. And then
All right.
crossover symmetry.
Workout.
What is it this week?
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, I'll brief it. Unless someone else wants to.
Good. No, this is your beast.
All right, 20 minutes, part 1, 20 box step-ups every minute on the minute for 20 minutes with a 40-pound vest. If unable to keep the pace, start over with 2 reps less than your previous attempt until you get to a pace you can handle. You have to start with a 40-pound vest, and you have to start with 20 box step-ups for 20 minutes. Once complete, rest 3 minutes. And then part 2 is 20 minutes, use pacing you determined above. Competitors maintain 20 box step-ups every minute on the minute for 20 minutes with 20-pound vest. Once complete, rest 3 minutes, no vest, then complete 400 box step-ups for time with 20-minute time cap. And then there's establish and recruit levels for all that jazz. So it's basically a lot of box step-ups. And my suggestion every time is just start at the competitor level and see what happens. Everybody start at the competitor level. And I rarely say that. So there we go.
I think there should be height standards for this. If you're 6 foot tall, you need to knock off 2 reps because we got farther to go.
Yeah. And I didn't even state in this. So I'm guessing it's a 24 inch and 20.
Typically, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I go with my normal step up height for proper execution.
If you want to make it really challenging, you're like, hey, this workout's not very hard. Don't use any momentum in your step up. If you've ever noticed yourself doing that, most people do it. You step up onto the box and then you kind of jump with that other foot a little bit. You give a little push. Instead of doing that, only use that front leg strength to step up. He won't ever finish the workout if you take my advice, by the way.
Yeah, I was like, no, don't do that.
And you'll be really sore. But your unilateral
goodness.
strength will be off the charts. All right. I'm advised out. I gave it all.
This one's rough. I mean, there's not really much to say because you're just going to try and then fail and then try again, and then you might fail again. Get your hips warmed up.
That was mine.
Burn.
How do
Yes,
you warm up your
definitely.
hips? Let's talk about that. That might not make any sense to people.
So you can do couch stretch for the front of you, get your quads loosened up, and then do a lunge forward while doing that. I also like to do a sort of hip lunge movement, but if you have bands, have a band hooked inside your groin, pulling your leg out, so away from your body. It really opens up a little bit.
You put it around your entire waist. Is that what you're saying?
No, you put it inside one of your legs in your groin.
Inside. And so it's pulling from the side.
Pulling from the side out. That leg that it's hooked on, that knee is on the ground, and you're lunging forward and you're stretching.
So kind of like an R&T split squat situation. Got it.
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
I like to do runner's lunges if you're going to warm up your hips. So like it's a yoga pose or whatever, but instead of holding it like a static hold, I like to rotate as well. Like rotate one way and then switch and rotate the other way. That helps. This workout, I don't know. It's rough. I said I just put on some music and I just go to a different place and just grind. But
audiobook.
No, negative. That do not. I feel like
60-minute workout.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know if I would actually try and get the actual reps, if you will. But for females, I've done this with a 25-pound vest. I don't think I've ever done it with a 40-pound vest. So I don't know, maybe challenge yourself. And if you're more on the competitor level for a female, maybe a 30, 35. I mean, or hey, go 40 like the rest of the dudes. But yeah. That's my advice. Find some good music and go somewhere else.
So if we're talking about tunes, ironically, Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven is not appropriate for this workout until the end, after you're finished. And this is the song that you play as you are ascending into heaven.
I think I play a small snippet of that song in the video for this, the athlete brief.
Yeah. So I think, maybe the heavy part towards the end of the song might help a little, but you're not going to fast forward to that part just to do it and then replay it. So save it for the end after you've died from all the step ups.
When you're completing your 400 box step ups for time.
Yes. I wrote Bring on the DOMs. Like Jared said, you will be sore after this one. There will be some muscle soreness, especially if you don't follow our advice and warm up. Definitely warm up. And if you don't
even if you warm up.
Yeah, even if you warm up, you're going to be sore. But if you don't warm up, you might be injured. So anyway, it's good, but it's gnarly. It's gnarly.
And if you're doing a Spartan, Jared suggests to do this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really helps with the hip flexors.
Yeah, I could testify to that.
Man,
will wreck your hip flexor.
I know next month will be a year ago for Spartan. We need another garage gym. Not maybe the Spartan Beast, but like
we're gonna do something I think next year without Joe. So, hey, you can come, but I just don't even know if you'd want to. You know what I mean?
That's a long way to go for that kind of torture.
You'd have to stay for like 2 weeks minimum. Like it would
make it worth it.
Like a 3-day trip. Like, yeah, Joe, let's do a 15-hour Spartan Beast. You haven't even acclimated to the time.
You could like go see family or whatever, and then come.
Yeah, if I can put it in conjunction with something else, but that's a long time to be away.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't think you're coming. But,
I was in Nomad long enough this year.
Yeah,
sure.
I'll give you guys 2 guesses what I use to warm up my hips.
First hyper.
Yeah, got it on the first guess. Reverse hyper. So I use it to warm up my hips every day before I squat right now. But Kyle, I love the question that he just asked was, do you want to be sore or do you want to be injured? Have you seen Training Day? Do you want to go to jail or do you want to go home?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought of. Do you want to go to jail or do you want to go home? Kyle's like, do you want to be sore or do you want to be injured? Love it. So that was awesome. But yeah, I already gave my advice. And once you guys all have that reverse hyper that we're all going to get now, you can use it to warm up your hips. And it's different than doing the normal reverse hyper movement. You can do a lot of different exercises on the reverse hyper. That's it. Well, we will conclude this one with 14-day free trial. As we always do. What are we doing this week, Pinky? Same thing
Trying
we
to
do
take
every week.
over the world.
Trying to take over the world. We're trying to take over the garage gym world. I mean, there's something like 100 million single family homes in the United States, and they all have garages. So that's what we're trying to get to here, with every single garage being a garage gym. And most of those should be following our programming if, you want to see results and whatnot. If you just want to spin your wheels, do other stuff, that's fine. You can do that. But Garage Gym Athlete is a place to be if you want to see results. And you do that by going to garagegymathlete.com and you sign up for a free trial, 14 days to test it out, a lot of different tracks. You can't be on BCT most likely. Sorry about that. But anything else you can try out. Trust me, you wouldn't want to be on BCT. It's boring. But that's it, guys. I think being a part of the training is awesome. And for all those who already are putting in the work, super committed athletes, awesome community. We just had a podcast with Kyle Hayskamp, who's been a member for a very long period of time. And he's gone through a lot of crazy stuff over the last year with just frequent moves and whatnot. And I asked him, like, how, what was it that kind of got you through? Like, how do you stay consistent? Because I know I've been in turbulent times like that. And I think we all have to some degree. It's like, how do you stay consistent or even want to? Sometimes you lose that desire. And the only thing he mentioned was the Garage Gym Athlete community that we have. And that's what kept him going and consistent, and sticking with it, even though, things were tough and he was moving around a lot of big life changes. So it's a big reason we do what we do. Aside from the programming, the community is amazing. And if you want to be a part of it, you have to experience that. So for all those who are a part of it, thank you. And for anyone who wants to be a part of it, be a part of it. Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.